Five on a count of 1 to 5. 1, 2, yeah, it's live.
Can I start now?
Yeah, please.
Good evening. On behalf of Hyderabad Management Association, it's a pleasure to welcome everyone on this platform to today's meeting on a very relevant topic which all of us have to imbibe, that is pivots for career success, unleashing people power. And there are two very powerful and stalwarts of the industry, Mr. Gopalakrishnan as well as Mr. Srinivasan, who has written this book and who will now be telling us why they have for us. I also welcome our MC members, advisors, past presidents, HM members, our participants on this platform, as well as who are viewing us live, our convener for this meeting, as well as our Vice President, Ramchandra. Welcoming our speakers, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, as well as Mr. Srinivasan, and our moderator, who also happens to be our convener. And I also welcome from IMA, Anubhav Saigal, and Dr. Ravikumar Jain, who is the Secretary of HMA and also the Director of SIBMH. And last but not the least, I welcome our President, Ms. Kavita Rajesh, who I request to take this meeting forward.
Thank you, Geeta. I think you should have some water. Thank you. A very good evening to all. And it's truly an honor and privilege and to have esteemed writers with us, senior most people who have a great experience in the corporate. Anecdote about the book is this book offers a way to think about the problems related to the relationship and career. It's alternative between the warm view and an eagle view across the diverse life experience. Sir, pivots for career success. Truly, sir, and I've personally interacted with both the speakers, and it's great to have you all and to talk about Hyderabad Management Association. It's an organization since 1964. It is started by a few dozen young managers in the Twin Cities of Hyderabad who felt the need for developing managerial skills among executives and spreading the message of professionalism among practicing managers with involvement of academic and industry. Hyderabad Management Association provides a platform for professionals, academicians, and management students to stay abreast of contemporary management practices and even shaping the professionals and with emerging challenges. We do plethora of activities undertaking in context of evening lecture meetings like today, and we have done a couple of book launches through HMA, sir, and IMA for all the support, and Mr. Anubhav Saigal also is here today from IMA, and thank you for this opportunity given to HMA. And training programs, panel discussions, seminar, conventions, quiz programs, management, faculty, student development programs. And we also are doing an industry readiness program, and we have the other desk like social impact desk. We address the social problems of the society, and international desk also. We are connecting with all the consulates to give an opportunity for students to stay abreast with international universities across, and also to help it's a platform which is creating trade opportunities across the globe. And we are partnering with excuse me, can you all put on mute? We are also starting a certificate program in partnership with business schools, and we are associated with IMA. IMA conducts joint meetings and regular joint programs like this today. And we are also tied up with Krishna Prasad Foundation Trust for giving a helping hand to all the MSME desk of HMA. And we disseminate information on the opportunities of government schemes and all through the internet, through the MSME desk. And we are doing lots of other initiations also. And on 4th of March, we are also collaborating with ISB. Mr. Munjal would be chairing it. It is the Hero Motors stories would be discussed there on the platform, and I would request our MC and members to take this opportunity to register themselves with HMA to be there in present to see Mr. Munjal is going to launch his book also. So we also, our flagship programs is the award. We have got great nominations this year, and we would be letting you know the award is in short. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, Gopalakrishnan Garu and Srinivasan Garu, both the brothers. Incidentally, they happen to be the blood brothers. And really, it's a great opportunity for us to know how this both brothers got together to write a book, and we are eagerly waiting to hear from them. And they have published about 17 books so far. So I would request our convener Ramchandra Garu to please introduce both the authors, and we want to go through this vibrant lecture meeting today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Kavita Garu. And thank you, Geeta ji. A warm welcome, sir, and a very good evening to all once again. I think it is a very great privilege for me today to share the platform with the two giants of corporate India. On behalf of HMA and me and myself, compliment to Sri Gopalakrishnan Garu and his younger brother, Sri Srinivasan, for authoring and publishing another book with the name Pivots for Career Success, Unleashing People Power. This is 17th book, which has been written by with Mr. Gopalakrishnan as the main author. Of course, he has written several other books with different other co-authors. This book has been written so well in tandem and with an excellent unison, commonality in thought and presentation. For the 3 sections, they divided their entire experiences and for advice. It only talks about sheer practical experiences with no textbook content anywhere. But the chemistry between both authors and the content has been great. The language used is simple and it makes compulsive reading. I only wish I had read it at the start of my career after college, which I mentioned yesterday to both Mrs. Subramanian Garu and Gopalakrishnan Garu. I now introduce the speakers and the authors of the book. The first speaker, Mr. Sri Rambhadran Gopalakrishnan, born in 1949, is a senior corporate manager and an author of several books. He is an executive director of Tata Sons and serves as a director on the boards of Tata Power, Tata Technologies, and Castrol India in different capacities, and many more. Gopalakrishnan earned his bachelor degree in physics from Xavier College, Calcutta, and a bachelor degree from IIT Kharagpur in 1967, and did advanced management program from Harvard Business School, United States. He had lived and worked in India, the UK, and Saudi Arabia. He began his career in 1967 as a computer analyst with Hindustan Lever. He worked in the marketing function before moving to general management. During his 31 years of his service with Unilever, he was based in Jeddah as CEO of Arabia unit. Later, he was the managing director of Brook Bond and then vice chairman of Hindustan Lever. He has been the president of All India Management Association. He is married and is happily married with 3 children. His contribution for the entire managing fraternity has been the books, which he very proudly keeps saying that his experience he wanted to share. The books that he has done are almost 70 in number, with this particular one which is being launched today. Some books like The Case of Bonsai Manager, When a Penny Drops, Learning What Not to Taught, a comma in a sentence, Extraordinary Change in an Ordinary Family Over 6 Generations, What a CEO Really Wants from You, 6 Lenses, Weakness of Success, Career and Relationship, The Made in India Manager, Lessons from Entry and Exit of CEOs, India, How Mr. Deepak Parekh grew HDFC Group exponentially, authored along with Ms. Vidyalata Dheer, How Uday Kotak built a valuable Indian bank with Tulsi Jaykumar. I think all these are wonderful practical books which he has done, many more, which I think probably I'm cutting short for a lot of time. There are 16 in all, and this is the 17th one. All are really an amazing books. And in fact, I think once you get into it, I think you have a thrill in reading the books again and again. See, Gopal strongly believes that there are 2 kinds of wealth that the top executives acquire, some money and a wealth of experience. And he feels this should be shared to the youth and the managers. Now we are on the threshold of launch of this latest book, Pivots of Career Success, Unleashing Power, co-authored with his younger brother, Srinivasan. And I think it is an amazing that two brothers are in the same unison and same platform. And I will also take this opportunity to thank IMA also, because this opportunity was given by them to bring leading giants like Mr. Gopalakrishnan and Srinivasan to the fold of HME. I now talk about Dr. Sri R. Srinivasan, his younger brother, who schooled in Kolkata and Mumbai and graduated in electronic engineering from IIT Kharagpur. After a brief stint with Usha CS in Mumbai, he joined Tobacco in ITC at Bangalore in 1974, then worked at Saharanpur in UP. He moved on transfer to the packing division at Munger, Bihar thereafter, and went on to head the Tiruvattur factory in Tamil Nadu, before taking over as CEO of the packaging and printing division based in Chennai as DHQ. He served 36 years with ITC across diverse businesses in diverse locations of India. I think this is the greatness, I think in the most difficult locations. And one incidentally is in the tribal areas of Andhra Pradesh, Bhadrachalam, which incidentally is my place, which is very close to my place. He retired in 2010 as a senior member of Corporate Management Committee at Kolkata with 5 out of 13 business units of ITC under his supervision portfolio, including packaging, paper boards, education stationery products, safety matches, agarbattis. He was the chairman of Wimco Limited, with ITC acquired from Swedish Match in 2005. He was also a non-executive director of IT subsidiaries such as ITC Infotech and Asia Tobacco. He served as the non-executive director of Courts India for 10 years and was vice chairman of the governing body of the Indian Institute of Packaging, Mumbai. Besides being a member of the governing council of the International Packaging Group, he is an avid reader, a yoga enthusiast, and continues to play tennis, which has been his passion along with his brother. So with these words, I think there are a lot more can be talked about. I have made it to a concise thing, but nevertheless, it ran into a few pages. I would request both Sri Gopalakrishnan and Sri Srinivasan Garu to take over and deliver their own way of presenting about the book. Many of the people who really don't know about this book, but once they get their hands onto it, they'll realize that it is a real wonderful book, probably. And everyone, like I said, will wish that this book was in their hands much earlier. And I will also request the August audience, please do not disturb while the meeting is going on. All the questions may please be put only in the chat box. Nobody, please do not disturb. I think we'll have a wonderful time listening to both Mr. Gopalakrishnan and Sri Srinivasan. So over to you, sir, Gopalakrishnan. And after that, there will be a question and answer session. Thank you, sir. Welcome once again.
Thank you, Kavita Garu, Ramchandra Garu. I'd like to say how happy I am to be again at HMA. This is not my first time they are launching my book. I think I've launched at least half a dozen books with the HMA. But COVID has prevented more direct and personal interaction. I'm very grateful to Mr. Ramchandra for declaring that I was born in 1949 and that I graduated with a BSc and a BTech in 1967. So you can see I was a young genius. I was only 18 years old and I had 2 degrees, one in physics. The fact of the matter is I was not born in 1949. When I was born, India was being ruled by Lord Wavell, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Mahatma Gandhi used to walk in the streets of Bombay. So I'm that sort of vintage, 1945. So I just thought I would correct it, lest you think that I was a great genius.
My regrets for that, sir. Please.
No, you don't have to be regretful. If anybody thinks I'm younger, I feel happy. It's only when you get old, you want to be thought of as young. When you're young, you want to be thought of as old, So that's a paradox of life. Anyway, thanks a lot and pleasure to be here. After all these introductions, I thought what we would do, I would speak for 10 or 15 minutes, giving the context of the book. And I would request my co-author, Mr. Srinivasan, to give you a feel of the book, what's inside, through narrating 1 or 2 of the stories. I will narrate just one story. So both of us have participated. My intent is for you to get a feel of what is distinctive, at least according to us, in this book. You see, as you would have gathered from what has been said already, both of us began our career long time ago. I in Hindustan Lever, he in ITC. And starting at the lowly level of a trainee, we climbed up the grease pole, slipping, moving, and we reached the executive room and the thickly carpeted management committee rooms, but in 2 different environments. And then, of course, I moved to Tata and joined the board of Tatas. And so I also acquired a new dimension. So apart from Lever, there was Tata and its various subsidiaries and associated companies. And he, in turn, ITC is not a simple cigarette company. It's got multiple divisions. He actually ran 5 of the divisions of ITC and has moved from, I went into the sales and marketing side and he went into the manufacturing side. And so between us, one day when we sat down about 5 years ago, it happens to you when you get a bit older, you pat yourself on the back and say, I've had 45 years of experience, 30 years of experience. Together, we have more than 75 years experience. But as Ramchandra Garu mentioned, that experiential wealth that we have both acquired will one day, whenever the time comes, go to the crematorium. And we said, but what do we have to say? What is so special about our experience? And then we started discussing, what is it that you would have preferred when you were a young person to have learned? And then through a little serendipitous process, we arrived at a conclusion or a tentative view. And that was that while there were people we can remember who taught us quality control, brand management, financial analysis, all those things, what we remembered at the end of our career is that people and human relations is the most important leadership skill. And we said, who taught us human relations and unleashing people power? And we both came to the stunning conclusion that actually nobody taught us. And that's true for everybody who's attending this seminar. Nobody teaches you how to unleash people power. They will tell you how to unleash productivity measures, how to unleash better quality, how to unleash digitalization. But nobody will teach you how to unleash people power. That is left to the poor, lowly HR department, who are not, they leash in the people power. They don't unleash it, poor chaps, because they are left holding the burden. And we said, what is it about unleashing people power if that is the most important thing that we have learned? Because in every other thing that we learned, a rational input gives you a predictable outcome. You change the cycle time and you get an improvement in quality. You reduce the cost and you may get an improvement in margin. You know, you can connect these. But when it comes to human relations, you realize that it's an unpredictable input, it's an unknown input and an unknown output. If you don't believe me, go home and try having a conversation with your spouse this evening and you'll find out for yourself that what you intended to say and what is heard can be quite different. And all of us know that. It happens in the companies, it happens in families, it happens in social relationships. And like Kavita Garu and Ramchandra Garu said, I said, both of us said to ourselves, if that is our biggest lesson, which nobody teaches, is there some way in which we can narrate our experiences so that some people who are 25, 30 today at least get an exposure to it? It doesn't mean exposure to it. And that is the attempt that we have made, because we are aiming this, and I hope, I don't know the audience profile here, but I hope there are a lot of young upcoming managers. I regard anything up to the age of 35, 40 as young and upcoming managers who are listening to this and to whom primarily the book is targeted, though I must say even older people read it and seem to enjoy it. Because people who master teachable knowledge are not the leaders of the future. People who master unteachable knowledge will be the masters of the future. And this is a very important thing to remember. And ours is a small step in attempting to share this unteachable knowledge, where things that you learn by intuition, by yourself, by reflecting on it. So what is so great about it? There's a Brahma mantra here, you know. A Gayatri mantra can be learned because the priest will whisper it into your ear. But to really understand the nuance of it, you'll have to do some adhyayan. Our main message in the book is that management is all about getting work done through people. We all know that. And if that skill is not formally learned and informally mastered, then the ability to execute, whether it's a big project or a new brand or a new factory, will reduce. Whereas the emphasis amongst management educators, young students, is to become thinking and strategy people. Because I think unknown to them, brain power is put at a higher premium, the Brahminical part of management, you know, thinking and strategy. I've asked many young people at management institutes, and they say, I want to be in the strategy department, in the M&A department. There's nothing wrong with it, by the way. You do just to work there. But the real revenues earned at the point when you sell that packet of cigarettes or the cake of soap or the motor car to a customer, and when the cash is realized and the cycle is covered. If you want to do that, you have to deal through people. Hindustan Lever doesn't sell its million tons of product by some chairman sitting in a place. I mean, it's done through, I don't know, by now it must be 500,000 distributors. Each of them will be employing 5 people and bought by 500 million consumers. So, you know, you're dealing with a very different. So, a major reason. Now, here's a statement I'm making, which you may not agree with, but we can debate it in Q&A. India Inc. is underpowered in its playing its role in the Indian economy. I'm not criticizing only PSUs. PSUs, of course, are underpowered. We know that. But even private sector companies are underpowered. These are all Ferrari machines, potential Ferrari machines, which are working like ambassador cars. And I think the principal reason, this is my personal view, I've not even discussed this with my co-author, is that Indian leaders have not learned to unleash people power. It is not that Western leaders are fantastic at it. They also have a problem. But I'm interested here and talking to an Indian audience. That is what our book is about. And as I draw to a close my opening remarks and handing it over to my co-author, I would just like to take one chapter of this book. I'm not going to read it out. It is called The Power of Humility. That's the name of the chapter, in which I've narrated a few experiences, and I think they exemplify whatever I'm talking about. And I have no doubt that when my co-author speaks, you'll find the same thing, except the context will be different. Who teaches you humility? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. You become humble by being excessively proud and getting wrapped in the head by some event. And then you bring down your temperature a bit. I wish we could deliver this message in the political arena and in the television debates every evening, because the world's most arrogant people seem to be assembled there, shouting at each other with alternate points of view. But then elections also come and humility is taught to various people. Just like in companies, NPAs teach people humility. So I joined Hindustan Lever, as Ramchandra Garu said, in 1967 as a lowly management trainee. And when the marketing director asked me whether I'd like to join the marketing department, I put up my nose like a good Brahminical engineer and said, I don't believe in selling soap. So I want to be in the computer department. Remember, in 1967, joining a computer department was a bit like saying, I want to go to the moon, you know, or rocket space. They allowed me to do that. But then at the end of 5 years, I found that everything was very slow. And I went back and said, I don't mind making a switch. And that's how I came into sales and marketing and general management. But when I came after 5 years, some of my contemporaries, I got promoted from whatever grade to the next grade. But they told me, you'll have to go back and work as a salesman so that you learn what happens in the grassroots. I was very offended. Remember, when you're young, you tend to be a bit cocky. I don't deny that I must have been cocky. I was cocky. Why should I say must have been? Show me one person who says he wasn't cocky when he was 25. I said, there you have a perfect liar, you know. We are all cocky when we are young. And I went and worked in Gulbarga, in Bidar, in Halebennur, Ranebennur, Halebid, trying to sell various products through the van salesman. And at that time, I hated it. I didn't like it. But I think somebody was knocking me down a few steps because I thought computers are going to change the world. I'm going to run computers, therefore I will be changing the world. You know, I had this Einsteinian feeling. Several years later, I somehow survived and made good in my career. When I was a regional sales manager, a particular context arose where a salesman whom I was advising, he's twice my age, to do things a little differently. And he said, why don't you sell and show me? Now, I could have the choice at that time to think that he had the power to charge sheet him. Or I could have the humility to say, well, I'll show you. I bloody well can sell also. And I did that. I obviously didn't do a great job of it. Not because I lacked selling skills, but I had no relationship. He would go walk into a shop and he would speak in Punjabi and tell people, how's your grandson, how's your father, mother. He would discuss also. I didn't even know whether the guy's father and mother were alive. So where do I start, you know? So it taught me a great lesson. What's happening in the company? This happens to people who go to factories also, you know? You go and tell a production gang something which is very basic, and the guy says, why don't you do it and show me? You will never be a master technician like the fellow can be, but you have to learn to dirty your hands. And I'm sure my co-author will narrate some such stories. I want to narrate one more story about the power of humility and how I learned it, because there was not a choice in the matter, but I wish I could have learned it through some storytelling earlier. After 20 years, I think I had done modestly well, and Hindustan Lever thought I should join the board of directors. So my chairman called me and he said, we are pleased, etc. And you'll be the director for exports. Now we were exporting all sorts of funny things. We were not exporting soap, detergent, and shampoo, which we understood. We were exporting hand-knotted carpets, leather shoes, textiles, and shrimps, things that we didn't understand. So in order to bridge this gap, we went and hired specialists from those trades, you know, garments, shoes. Now, those are very unstructured industries. The kind of guys in that industry are used to various practices which a large company like Hindustan Lever is not used to. I had learned one lesson during my career, that you must trust the people who are around you. But I forgot that you must trust after testing. Don't trust blindly. I trusted blindly a specialist who came from a garments trade. And he took the company to the cleaners for about $500,000. I mean, $500,000 sounds very small today when companies are valued at 7 billion. But please remember, in 1987, it was a huge sum of money. And we had very strong restrictions on foreign exchange and so on and so forth. I went to my chairman looking very sheepish, very sheepish. Only 4 months before that, he had told me, I'm joining the board of directors. And I'm sure that I was walking around with a spring in my walk, feeling that I'd conquered the world and I'm a genius. But this required me to go and say, I don't know what's happening. I can't find $500,000. But I was very open about it. I said, it's better that you think I'm a fool. Otherwise, in 6 months' time, the whole world will think I'm a fool. It will be in some newspaper. So I've come to you for help. That's human nature. Once you ask somebody for help, he'll go out of his way to help you. Because you are vulnerable. It is our pride that prevents us from asking for help. And I have to say that my self-respect, my izzat, my career, and my peace was all saved because the whole company, the legal department, the finance department came into my rescue and we sorted that problem out. But what did it teach me? Namrata dhar. Never put your head up to that because you think you're doing it. It is the circumstance that's happening. So I'm narrating, these two stories are there in that book, in the chapter called Power of Humility. And I would now like to hand over to my co-author this in the 15 minutes that he has. And then I would request if Ramchandra Garu is going to conduct the Q&A through the chat box. Please, over to Srinivasan.
Thank you, Gopal. Thank you, Mr. Ramchandra, Ms. Kavita Rajesh, Ms. Geeta Malikarjun, Mr. Jain, Mr. Segal, members of HMA and AIMA. I do hope I'll stay within the time limit. And if I don't, because I speak with excessive passion, I request Mr. Ramchandra to give me a knock on the head. Now, we wrote this book primarily for the practitioner, the practice of management, the working professional and professional manager who has to deliver results and get things done. At the end of the day, if I might quote a tennis example or take an analogy, somebody teaches you the service, somebody teaches you the volley, somebody teaches you the forehand, somebody teaches you the backhand. But you are expected to go ahead there, get onto the court, play tennis and win matches. And that is exactly what potential the practicing professional manager has to change organizations, which I passionately believe in. So, examples have been quoted, and Gopal has shared marketing examples from Karnataka, from Jalandhar, and several places. And I will do just three anecdotes covering three completely different places in different geographical zones of India. The first in Munger, where we had unleashing of remarkable productivity in an area and in a zone which people associate, unfortunately, with dacoities, murders, kidnappings, and the highest gun ownership in the country. The second, coping with an adversity. This was in Tiruvallur, in Madras. So we had to work towards restoring balance and getting to level 0 before putting in the motivating frameworks to make it a productive organization. And the third, in a completely different context, in Bhadrachalam, in Khammam district, where our paperboard mill, one of the finest in the country, at that period of time was passing through rapid modernization, new projects, a new machine coming on stream. So quality had to be balanced along with a remarkable effort to build up standards of safety. So, in quick sequence, in Munger, we had a union that was facing difficulties in the courts on an issue of recognition. And you had a printing factory and a cigarette factory side by side, and they were not in a position to sign an agreement which could recruit people or allow machinery to come in. So, a mini settlement for the printing factory, which was the smaller of the two, was envisaged. And the advice was completely negative. The personal manager said, look, it's going to be a very hard sell, but we'll try. And I sat with him and the office bearers who were largely from the cigarette factory, being the older one, started in 1907. And they said, we don't have any hope that this mini settlement for continuous running of machines through staggered meal breaks and at the change of shifts will really work out. Well, several things were put together. And finally, a mass kind of selling took place. I will not go into great details. The book covers that. But the net result was we anticipated a 10% change in productivity, and we actually ended up between 30 to 50%. And that remains a warm memory because it's the people who achieved it. It was unleashing people energies, not only of all the managers who worked there, but also of the employees who, despite all that has been said about caste prejudice, X, Y, Z, rose to the occasion in performing what I would call a resonating performance. I speak about resonance very seriously. The people on the armed forces marching across a bridge are often told to break step so that the rhythm does not coincide with the natural frequency of the bridge. And therefore, similarly in industrial life, there are, if I might use an electrical analogy, there are capacitors which are leading, inductances which are lagging, and resistances which are resisting the voltage being applied on them. Now, contrary to popular thought, we don't have to eliminate all impedance. There is a natural frequency that can work with the people concerned and with the instruments that we have. And that is exactly what happened in Munger. I want to shift location completely to the southern part of the country, to Tamil Nadu or North Tamil Nadu, where we were now coping with sudden adversity at our Tiruvuttur factory, where violence took place and 15 managers got assaulted, machines were damaged. Part of the inspiration of the wrong kind could have taken place as a result of 9/11 because this happened a month later. And it was shock. However, we took matters in hand and made it clear that even while we were in a collective bargaining situation and in mediation with the government department, taking the law into your own hands and indulging in violence could have disastrous consequences, especially in an industrial setup. So this was sorted out. And now the positive part of unleashing people energies. We now looked at the entire population and said, what can we do to inspire them to better performance? And we reinvested. First corrected machinery, then reinvested, invested a lot in training people, used computer-based tutorials to great advantage, got a suggestion scheme going, which really hit the roof. And the participation worked because people said, what will happen to our agreement? And we said, we will sign with all 400 of you. So this was the innovation that changed the context. And the Tamil Nadu government was supportive, and we went ahead. Now, whether it was the right thing to do, the next 20 years have proven the point. They've had back-to-back agreements every 5 years. There's been industrial peace, remarkable improvements in productivity. The same factory achieved the IQRS level 8, which is the equivalent of the Deming Award, implemented the SAP system in record time, and went on to flourishing exports. The third example, in the state then of Andhra and now Telangana, which was Bhadrachalam, where we were putting in a new machine, we simultaneously had large numbers of people who were entering and leaving the factory. A paperboard mill, as you might envisage, in 500 acres of land next to the Godavari. You have coal bunkers, a completely separate cogeneration plant, a soda recovery boiler, which is 2 floors high, lumbering operations which go into the forests, which are abutting Dantewada. And so you have a Naxalite threat from time to time. I remember one incident where 2 poor pump operators were held to ransom in the night. And they were asked for a contribution of 50,000. And they said, we have 5 rupees in our pocket for some tea. And we are only employees of the company. So they were tied up, gagged, brought in an auto rickshaw, left at the Bhadrachalam factory gate or mill gate, as we would call it, with a ransom note demanding 50,000 rupees. Now we sorted it out. The purpose is not to say that these were the problems of paramount importance, but they were problems that needed to be managed in a district where it was ITC's diversification into the core sector and a backward integration into paperboard manufacture. Now, safety was worrying us at this point of time. In a large flung area, how do you keep track of accidents? including not just fatalities and deaths, but even minor accidents. So the ethic was that people come into the factory, whether visitor or employee, not to get injured, but to unleash their energies and to enjoy their work. And can we preserve this? So there was a lot of support from the management of the company, the CEO, Mr. Pradeep Doble, the CEO, Mr. Sanjay Singh, and a whole lot of others. But we changed the entire table by also covering the place with CCTV cameras, not just in the security area, but in every area of operation. And I remember I was asked to speak to the union for about 10 minutes on one of the rounds that I had taken. And Pradeep and Sanjay said, we are going to step out and we're going to leave you with him. And take care. We finished in exactly 10 minutes. I had a list in front of me and I asked them, where were you and where was I and where was the top management when XYZ died? And I related accident after accident and said, we are sitting and grieving today after the event. Could we have been prevented in the first place? So the meeting ended with a smile and shaking hands. And I said, we are not interested in intruding into the privacy of people. We want to make sure that people don't get injured, whether visitor or an employee. And I'm happy to state that in the unleashing of positive energies that took place, Bhadrachalam went on to win the British Safety Council's Sword of Honor, which is not to say that a pat on the back means you can lean back and ignore other things. But the Chief Safety Officer, Prakash Pathak, his safety managers who were in the various units, all contributed in an unusually effective collaboration to make things work. So those were three anecdotes, completely disparate: Munger, Tiruvuttur, Bhadrachalam, examples of unleashing of energy, in addition to the examples that were shared by Gopal. Which brings us to the point, what is it that motivates people? Is it money? Is it recognition? Is it good relationships? So we can go through the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and say that we start with physiological needs, to belongingness, to esteem, to love, power, recognition, and finally self-actualization. And there is a discussion in the book that covers that. However, the important point is there may be different circumstances in different situations. But we all know, and we all have felt those periods in our lives where we are in a state of flow. A child can be completely absorbed doing a Lego model. A musician can be completely absorbed in her or his music. And we have people, therefore, who can vouchsafe for the fact that while they were working under adversity, they experienced extraordinary bouts of focus on the subject. Now, this is called flow by Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian-American economist who's done the most extensive study on what contributes to happiness. And the interesting thing is, you have some people who are disoriented, some people who are right at the cutting edge, and you have something like 55% who are not miserable, but they're not happy either. So Dr. Csikszentmihalyi's research has been on what contributes to happiness. And when people are in a state of flow, in this complete sense of absorption, when they are doing and learning simultaneously, is the time when they experience maximum happiness. We need to look at context. Mr. Ramchandra mentioned the book is divided into three sections: understanding self, understanding others, understanding context. And I want to mention an adverse context which happened in ITC with the excise raids in 1987, which went on for a long time and became the famous 803 crores case, which went up to the Supreme Court, and a decision was given, to the surprise of people, in favor of the company. It's a different matter that the government chose to pass retrospective legislation, which they still seem to be doing in patches, and said we can't be giving money back to a tobacco company. The second, in the context of a liberalizing India and changing legislation, was the Ferra raids of 1996, on a scale and with a severity which was completely unprecedented and unwarranted, including retired people from the company. Now, the point is not to go into these cases per se, but to say that we will experience tsunamis in our professional lives. And they may be from larger departments with whom the large organization must continue to interact. And each of these have lessons for us in terms of learning, which go on to shape our careers as professional managers. Does this mean that we can postpone corporate governance and heavier issues of climate change till we are 40 or 50 and about to reach the board? The answer is obviously no. Today, in a relational database, we have climate change, ESG goals, gender sensitivity, and a whole host of other issues of sustainability simultaneously competing for attention. Not to make this a heavy subject, can we say, do what you enjoy and enjoy what you do, which is a chapter in this book. And that maxim needs no further elaboration. It's obvious that you would enjoy what you do and you would continue to grow if you can do what you enjoy. However, the safeguard is to improve that comfort zone and move out of that comfort zone from time to time to learn about other areas. And today's climate is a lot more suitable than it was ever before to give you capsuled tutorials on the YouTube or on TED Talks or on computer-based efforts to acquire an understanding of the subject for you to plunge in. We mentioned the professional manager. The professional manager is the person who can get things done and can walk across boundaries. So while we are functionalized and we are specialized and we are segmented, the professional manager knows that innovation often stands at the intersection of these specialisms and these functions. And therefore, he must be emboldened to make an attempt to walk up there and do something about it. I wish to spend just a minute before my time runs out and talk about fitness for purpose, which was defined by Deming as the hallmark of quality. What is quality? It is fitness for purpose. But what about fitness for purpose for our own careers as professional managers? This is abandoned to the school when we are young and to parents who are caring and loving and want you to have sports and not just become a bookworm. But we must cognize for the fact that each of us will gain from 0.25 to 1 kilo per annum for the next 30 years. If it is happening to the finest of athletes and the finest of film stars who have an interest in how they look, then it must happen to us. And we can't leave this to be managed or to be programmed by somebody outside the system. A last comment is on having an open culture where there is freedom to ask questions. And we have illustrated this with an example on wind energy, where you could ask the moon, how does wind energy work? How will it get transported? And these can be people from the finance function, they can be from the legal function, because we needed to take everybody along in going ahead with this project, which worked extremely well, and then went on to be a hallmark for the hotels, which had LEED certification. That's leadership in energy environmental design, based on the fact that they were being supported by wind energy. And it is not mentioned in the book, but the example of Theranos, which has done its rounds in the papers and in the periodicals, of Elizabeth Holmes becoming the female Steve Jobs and starting a company which would revolutionize blood testing, is an example that we must bear in mind, where a 9 billion valuation of that company ultimately turned out to be false, because the premise was that the blood testing was actually effective by taking a finger prick of blood. And a key point is not to go into the Theranos story, but to say that they stifled all dissent and all questioning within the company. And therefore, the truth that the testing was not working was not admitted by Elizabeth Holmes, because she had got too committed by fame and fortune to roll back. And she now stands, along with the board of directors, accused of fraud. I'd like to stop there. That's 20 minutes. Thank you for listening patiently.
So thank you both Sri Gopalakrishnan Garu and Srinivasan Garu. I think it was amazing, sir. You were mentioning about the time. I think we probably can listen for hours, both of you. And I think all of us are just absolutely getting mesmerized by listening to what you're talking about. I really appreciate you, sir, and the wealth of knowledge that you try to disseminate, I think is really very, very, sort of thing, where probably we should savor. Sir, now I think with these few words, I was just wondering whether I can comment on what you talk, sir. Like certain words used by Gopalakrishnan saying that we are hiring a Ferrari, but we're working like an ambassador car. You have to unleash the power that the people have, which is probably hidden. And the humility, I think that's fantastic, sir. I think the humility is a great character which everybody should really be building in. Now, when coming to what Mr. Srinivasan was mentioning, he compared the engineering part that we have to be, there is a system of, there is a situation like a capacitor, an inductor, and a resistance. Everywhere you find it, sir, I think so wonderfully you have compared probably all this we know, but we probably never came across, not really thinking in this direction at all. So it's really a marvelous sort of disposition by both of you, sir. Now I take the privilege of asking a few questions, being a moderator. We have a few questions with me, and after that, some questions which are coming from the chat box, I'll be probably reading out so that one of you or either of you can please talk and answer these questions. The lesser I talk about the book, I think probably it's better because you are the best persons to talk about it. Sir, in your book, you mentioned that the path to the top is like a climb up the greasy pole, which is the words I am just reproducing from your book, sir. How do you find yourself in this, and what was the single most effort of yours to reach the top? It certainly will be a lesson to all of young managers and future managers and the management students. So can you please elaborate, sir? I would request Dr. Sri Gopalakrishnan Garu to please dwell a little more on this.
Well, I'm not saying anything which you can't recognize, because the path upwards is a greasy pole. You climb up, you sweat and work very hard, and then you slip back a little bit. And that's how you sort of, if at all you move up, some people get stuck. That's the simple metaphor that I was using. And when you're young, you have the desire to climb up, and you learn things that you will make you a master of whatever subject it is that you are a manager in. But when you slip only a few inches. But when you move up, like the Theranos example that was moved, once you moved up, when you slip, it will slip by feet, not in inches. That is the simple metaphor that I was using. And each time you slip, you learn something. That must give you this learning, and therefore the energy to try to climb the grease pole again. I don't think there was anything more than that.
Yes, sir. I think you have put it very, very well, sir. One more point I would like to mention, sir, is that under the topic of a mark of a leader, in your book, sir, you have stated that every manager must cross from being a functional manager to a leader of men. Many underestimate this transition, often to their disadvantage. Sir, is it that the Peter principle has worked on many because all of them won't rise to that levels? Or probably there is something else? And I was wondering, sir, how you can explain this particular thing and in a real practical scenario.
Sridhar, you want to go or shall I go?
Okay, please go ahead first, and then I can also comment if there is time.
Sometimes, since I'm not an academic, I don't want to explain it by some academic model, but a practical example. How do you find out if a person has been a great general manager or CEO? Not by watching what he's doing today, not by recounting what he did yesterday, but by seeing when he is. But it's too late. He's gone away. Hello, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I once asked a naval officer, how do you tell a good ship? Don't give me 150 parameters. He said, I look at the wake of the ship. So I said, wake, what is the wake of the ship? Does the ship go to sleep? He says, no. Once the ship has plowed through the water, And if it is symmetrical and the ship is able to be stable, then we call it a stable ship. If it is all over the place, then the wake of the ship is bad. So that was one thing. When the manager, when a CEO has left a company and gone somewhere else, has he left mayhem in the company? Some CEOs do that. You suddenly discover skeletons in the cupboard. Look at ABG shipyard is going on right now. You suddenly find India's largest single declared bankruptcy, 26,000 crores. Not to forget all the people who are sitting in London and Antigua and other places. So when they are there, our pink papers will put their mugshot every morning in the newspaper, saying they're the best thing after sliced bread. It's when they've gone that you realize. Look at what happened to GE. I'm not saying Jack Welch was a bad manager or a good manager. I don't know enough. I'm not close enough to GE to comment on it. But for 20 years, he was a manager of the century, not the decade, the century. And it took another 15 years after his departure for them to say, well, did he really do such a great job? So look at the wake of a manager. So if a person has been branch manager in Madras and he moves as branch manager to Delhi, you look at the condition of Madras branch, you'll get a much better idea of his leadership qualities than by looking at what he did in the Madras branch. Whereas what we do is the opposite. We tend to look at what he's done there. We take the day he became chairman or managing director, the day he left, and calculate. So that when you take charge of a company for the first 12 to 18 months, it runs on the momentum of the previous predecessor. Then you start, I call all managing directors, I have been one myself, damaging directors, because you start doing your damage. And after you have finished your term, it takes another 1.5 years for the next guy to find out. You've probably done a lot of good also, don't get me wrong. But when you're doing good, there's a few bad things happen. So that's what I would like to say about the faulty way in which we appraise leadership. And we fail to look at the wake of the ship. Srini, over to you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a comment to that, which Gopal has very clearly explained. Is there a tendency, partly fostered by the media and partly our own expectation, that we pin everything on one person? So what about corporate governance at all levels? And this is why I respect the professional manager who contributes with integrity and can work together with people in a collaborative atmosphere to make sure the best decision is taken for the company, while cognizing for the fact that your batting average may be moved from 6 out of 10 to 8 out of 10, but will not be 10 out of 10 always. So the broad gauge approach makes sure that the group is actually taking the best decision. And there are stirring examples of this in corporate governance and the tendency towards groupthink. Now, this happened with the Bay of Pigs disaster with respect to Cuba. It happened with professional engineers and scientists working on the Challenger and the Columbia space shuttles. And we have plenty of examples within our own Indian context where people come out of a meeting saying, I wanted to say this, I didn't agree with it, but I thought, why upset people? Now, the disagreement and the willingness to disagree in a respectful way and in a constructive way becomes important because you have something to contribute. Scientists, in the case of Challenger, said that in the cold weather, the solid fuel boosters, the seals, the O seals would tend to leak. But people said, let's put it aside for the time being because we have a target date to get to. So irrespective of the target date, has the group arrived at the best decision? And we see this immediately in context when we see a team of doctors who say, no, his white blood cell count is too low. We are not ready for surgery. So why can't we do this in professional management and trust a group of people unleashing their best creative and intellectual energies towards the task? Thank you.
So wonderfully said, sir. I think what you mentioned is absolutely true. So I'll ask one more question is that in your book, you also mentioned this, we have really broached on that, saying that these words which you use, sir, is disagree, but not to be disagreeable. I think probably,
Yeah.
sir, can you please few more words on this, because it's a wonderful part of metaphor.
Go ahead.
Okay. There's bound to be disagreement in any kind of discussion that we have. And that by itself is not a sin. But what I'd like to say is that if you look at all the analysis of what has happened on communication, people say only 7% of communication are the actual words used. Some 35 or 38% is paralinguistic, where it says it's the manner or the emphasis that you placed on the word. You know, the way he talked to me, I got really annoyed. And another 35% is your facial gesture. Now all that adds up to 80%, leaving you with 20%, which may be body language. So we know where the problem is. And we are in a position to tackle it if we are sensible about it. So in disagreeing, why must there be sarcasm? Why must there be torture, either for the speaker or for the receiver? And why can't, what we would use in communication theory is that we are unable to separate the signal from the noise. So the moment you're unable to separate the signal from the noise becomes the primary factor. So that was the point on disagreeing, that there's no harm in disagreeing. And even on a technical matter, as long as we don't start getting, shall I say, too worked up in terms of ego and pride.
Sir, excellent, sir. I just probably extend it a little more by saying that, can we bring this analogy into the boardroom decision making?
Of course.
There also, sir, now with the independent directors being given a bigger role, many a time this sort of scenario does arise. Sir, is it, how will you get out when you face this sort of thing, when you are sitting at the helm of the affairs? Both of you have been the highest levels in the boardroom. So you must have seen such type of things, but is it just the timely discussion or something like that, or something else? How exactly you should really overcome? Again, the question of disagreeing and not being disagreeable, perhaps.
So Gopal, if I can just take the first one. I quoted the example of Theranos. I didn't elaborate because of lack of time. But Theranos had the most distinguished, star-studded galaxy of board members. 2 former secretaries of state, including George Shultz and Henry Kissinger. 1 former general of the army, Jim Mattis, and a whole lot of other people. It's a different matter that many of them were 80-year-olds and they were confidants and friends of the grandfather of Elizabeth Holmes. So that's a different issue that we will come to with respect to board diversity. What happened? Now, the truth is, in the case of Theranos, George Shultz told his grandson, you should go across to this wonderful company. And Tyler Shultz worked in the company and came back and told his grandfather, saying, hey, this is not working. This finger prick blood test is not working. And despite all the things that he said, his grandfather couldn't believe it. And he said, listen, I think you've got it wrong, young man. You haven't looked at it carefully. So I come back to what shareholders do and what the newspapers do and what the media channels do. So they've got a fantastic board. What does that mean? So we come back to the process as distinct from being rewarded for what you've done in the past. And when you come to that, the board discussion becomes important. That how is it possible that nobody raised a single finger as to what was going on? How is it that for 15 years, nobody sensed that something was going wrong? Obviously, when you killed the open culture, a professional manager could not walk up and say, listen, I'm not happy with the state of affairs, something is going wrong. Now, I must tell you, the chief scientist of Theranos, a PhD from the University of Cambridge, committed suicide before an investigation and inquiry was to take place. Still, the board did not wake up. So the signals are all there, and they are there for independent directors, for nominee directors, and for executive directors to pick up. But the collaboration that we need to take the best decision for the company is not topmost. It is groupthink which is affecting it to say, it's better we fall in line. Why ripple the waters? Why disturb what seems to be a pleasant conversation? So sorry if I went overboard, Gopal, please.
No, that's fine. I just want to narrate one story rather than give a explanation on principles. Back soon after I joined Tata's, one night I got an anonymous telephone call saying that there's a big fraud in your company called Tata Finance. I'm going back to 99, 2000. And I was new in Tata's, but several other senior people got such a call. And well, we all know that in Tata Finance, what finally happened, there was a fraud. And we did various things, principally led by Ratan Tata. And that got sorted out. And I'm not going to go into that story. That's not what I'm trying to get to. But at one particular meeting, a point came up with the board. How much is the damage due to this fraud? And frankly, we didn't know. It's not at all uncommon that when a fraud occurs, you're not terribly sure whether it's for 80 crores or 800 crores or 8,000 crores. You take this ABG shipyard, they've taken 8 years to figure out that it's a fraud and to establish its size and apportion accountability. Then people said, well, we are a limited liability. Some people argued we are a limited liability company. So our liability is only to the extent of the shareholding we have. And our shareholding is 30% or 40% of the share capital. Therefore, it is X. And so whatever our liability, we will not exceed that. One director disagreed. One or two directors, but one spoke up. So I will say one. He said, but suppose you are one of the small people who has put his money into this company, saying there's a Tata company. And you tell him that my liability is limited. How would you feel? See, he disagreed, but in a very polite and agreeable way. And we started calculating and said, well, if a small shareholder who doesn't understand finance, really, he's put his little pension money or provident fund money because it's a Tata company. So my chairman, Ratan Tata, got up and made a statement in public. He says, whatever the cost, Tata will bear it. Nobody will lose. And we didn't know what that money was. Is the bill 8 crores or 80 crores? It finally ended up being 800 crores. In 1999, and we paid it. Nobody lost money. So that's an example of a very major nature. And of course, I was new in Tata and it brought to me the great value system of Tata's, that you could think that way. But somebody could have thumped the table and said, this is all wrong. No. So what would happen if you were that shareholder? And that brought people to think about it from a different angle. So when we said disagree, but don't become disagreeable, you have to go out of your way, as the examples given by my co-author also illustrate, to make it constructive. Now, if you want to know how not to do it, just switch on your television set in another 45 minutes and you'll find out how not to do it. They're shouting at each other. So the way is fairly clear.
That was wonderful, sir. There are quite a number of questions, sir, but I think we're again running short of time, but one or two questions from my side only. Sir, one interesting word which you used in your book was unearned luck and earned luck. So maybe, sir, you'll talk a little for the benefit of all the audience.
Shall I go?
Yeah, please, please.
First of all, I wrote a book called 6 Lenses, in which I argued that each person views the world through a spectacles which has 6 lenses. And since everybody's power in the lens is not the same, they all see the world differently. So 5 people from the same company go to the same program at Harvard or Stanford, One will come back saying best thing after sliced bread. Two will come back saying all bloody rubbish. Three will say, well, it's okay, because they all attended the same program. One of those lenses I call luck. The others were purpose, authenticity, courage. I will not go into all that. One of them is called luck. And many people at my book launches said, how can a rational physics student and engineer like you believe in luck? I said, I don't believe in luck. I can see it in front of me. It is like, how do you believe in Vishnu or Lakshmi or Shiva? I see it in front of me. You don't see it in front of you, that's fine. So many lucky breaks have happened in the course of my life and career. Now I'm old enough to be able to think back. I have not contributed to it. I have not planned it. So then he said, okay, if I must believe in luck, what about all my hard work? I said, yes, you have earned luck and unearned luck. That's how the subject came up. Earned luck is you have prepared very hard. And opportunity came your way, you got it. So that's earned luck. Meaning that it's a luck to which you have made a contribution. How much contribution? Let's not get into that. But sometimes it comes out of the blue. Like somebody has sung a lovely song and it's picked up in CNN and America, and you're invited for the Oscar. Of course, you have made a nice song, but that's, I narrate two examples in the book. I think I do. But what I'm telling you is the correct example. In 1929, in Berlin, a young English boy was driving his car, and he knocked down another person who was a bit older than him, short man, and he was very apologetic and he was very concerned because he was a new driver. But the other fellow got up and brushed his coat and walked away. And he got to see his face. He didn't know him. 3 years later, in the theater in Berlin, he saw that person, same person. His name was Adolf Hitler. Now, is it Adolf Hitler's good luck or this fellow's bad luck? He was reminiscing after 30, 40 years. If I had finished him off at that time, I would have gone to jail, but the world would have been safe. So you get many examples like this of earned and unearned luck. And I thought it's important to bring it out. Some people call it Devudu. Some people call it Prarabdham. I call it luck. But if your daughter is to get married and somebody tells you look for a good date in the Panchangam, all your rationality goes away. You'll go to some priest and say, yeah, please tell me which date my daughter should get married. Should I buy this house or not buy this house? Look at that National Stock Exchange lady talking to some Baba through email. I mean, sometimes it can be carried to a fault also. Thank you.
That was really wonderful, sir. Wonderful explanation. I mean, this is really the tone with which I think the entire book goes through, sir. I really felt that it's a very wonderful way you expressed it. Both of you, sir. I think kudos to you. There are many more questions, but still, sir, for paucity of time, I think I wouldn't know. It's exactly 1 hour since you started talking. There are few questions from the audience, which I'll probably just read out, sir, and hopefully maybe you can just answer in brief, sir. How important is the role of mentors as a pivot of career success? Also, the role of intuition in embracing change. Our senior member Vijay Vedantam has raised this question, sir.
Yeah, I would like to give a very brief answer. Mr. Vedantam, please read the book. These are both questions that are answered in the book. Mentors are very important. But mentors are not people who are assigned to you, but people you find for yourself. Just like spirituality. If you are not a seeker, nobody can be a giver. And that is true of mentorship also. The second question was about intuition. And I believe that as a manager or a business person grows in his career, in the first 25, 30 years of his career, rationality and logic becomes the dominant reason for his success or lack of it. But in the second part of his career, while rationality and logic are still there, you get an added overlay of intuition. There's a gut feel, as you say. That's why a grandfather is able to tell his grandson, "Beta, I feel it, I've been through this before." And the grandson, of course, will dismiss his grandfather, as all of us did when we were grandsons. And now it's being done to some of us as we have become grandfathers. So the best example, which in the interest of time, I'm taking a short one. Think of your most important decision in life, who to get married to. And also, second, who to stay married to. Nowadays, you have to think of the second one also. It's not like the old days. Is it rationality or intuition? If it is rationality, God save your marriage. If it's intuition, you'll have a long, happy married life. Because you know the art of giving and taking and not proving a point. Whereas you start your marriage that way, thinking that you're right and you bring your spouse to your way of thinking. Very soon you find, today I am not the guy who married my wife from Hyderabad, incidentally, 50 years ago. Neither is she the same girl. And that's a matter of pride. I'm not unhappy about it. So when somebody from your school tells you, "Yaar, tu bahut badal gaya hai," you say, "Khuda Hafiz, thank you very much. That, thank God, we should change." Okay.
So that was a really marvelous, beautiful answer. And one of our senior members, Shankar Venkata Prasad, has raised a query, sir, for both of you. With the versatile career, corporate world, and now beyond it, the 17 SDG goals, UN Sustainable Goals are priority. ITC, one of the blue chip companies, cigarettes are injurious to health. Why it has entered into the business? And why ITC failed in FMCG retail outlets and some FMCG products?
This is not a question I can answer, so you please answer.
Okay. So there are two separate questions. I had a quick look at the chat box. So on the Sustainable Development Goals, there is no doubt that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are extremely important. And while I cannot presume to speak for ITC, I have been an ex-member and I'm now out of the system for over 11 years now. The question should really be addressed to Mr. Sanjeev Puri, the current chairman. However, I'll attempt to answer it rather than ducking the question, which is that if you look at ITC's track record through its diversified businesses, it continues to be carbon positive, water positive, and solid waste recycling positive for several decades, which is a positive achievement towards sustainable goals and is blended in with the entire CSR effort and is one of the few companies which has a sustainability board committee at the board of directors. Now, the next question about tobacco being injurious to health, I have cited examples where certain departments come and make accusations, ensuring that you remember forever that it is not only cigarettes which are injurious to health. So the important point is, here is a legitimate business, and you are conducting business within that legitimate framework, within the regulations that have been prescribed.
Yes,
and within that legitimate framework, you are one of the highest payer of taxes. You are one of the highest export earners, net foreign exchange positive for more than 20 years. And you are an enabling corporate citizen. So what is the issue? Above all, you provide a product which is available under certain restrictions and regulations, but it's a free choice to be exercised by the customer. And to those who are not aware of policy, I'm not speaking on behalf of the company, but genuinely speaking from a scientific viewpoint, that cigarettes which are much less harmful to health than bidis and chewing tobacco are 1/10 of the volume of tobacco. So cigarettes are somewhere near 14% in terms of the amount of tobacco used, and it is 90% in terms of the revenue which it generates for the government. You rarely hear people talking about bidis and chewing tobacco, which is 10 times the size of the cigarette industry in India, a unique example in the whole world. I'll stop there and leave Mr. Sanjeev Puri and the current board of directors to really answer the question.
So it was really a tough question, and you answered it so well, sir. Absolutely, no doubt about it. In fact, we have Mr. Chandrasekhar, one of our members. He recently was an ex-ITC employee. I think he is in HR. He has answered your question partially. He says ITC is equally doing well in FMCG as well. He has mentioned in the chat box. So thank you, sir. Valuable lessons I've experienced, especially important excelling in human relationship is one point one of the members is mentioning, sir. There are quite a number of people trying to admiring your talk. Quite a difficult questions have been answered so smoothly. I mean, so nicely. And Mr. Chandrasekhar again says you have the courage of conviction to talk. I mean, the facts and the figures. Why are our Indian companies not in the top 10 Fortune companies? Is another question raised by one of our members, Mr. Rajan Prasad.
Go ahead.
Sir, today, when you look at the valuations that are being done, probably they are really mind-boggling. I think a purist or a traditional corporate man, I think, will still wonder how these valuations are going like this. A company like Tata's spent more than 100 years of history, are struggling to match the figures which a novice companies comes in with really no assets as such.
You want to go? Steve?
You
Right?
go first. Yeah.
You know, if you ask a 15-year-old boy, why has he not yet won the Nobel Prize? He will say, give me some time. Indian companies were released from bondage, that too partially, only in the last 30 years. A company may be 100 years old, but you take Air India as an example. One fellow came, he nationalized it partly. The second fellow came, he nationalized it fully. The third fellow came and merged it. The fourth fellow came and brought new aeroplanes. And the fifth fellow said, no, you can take it back. So I think Indian companies in the last 30 years have grown up a great deal. They are not at all perfect. And it's a separate study that I have done as to what is required for them to become global companies. But I think you cannot grow them overnight. Global companies don't get created overnight. I have little doubt that when I'm into my 90s, maybe another 20 years, there will be companies. Indian CEOs are now global CEOs. Indian companies the largest employer in Britain is Tata's. So there are green shoots. And what is required is Shraddha and patience to do the right things. We were nowhere even in cricket 50 years ago. Today we pride ourselves as to where we are. So give it a little bit of time and let us work with the discipline and overcome the obstacles that are there.
So I think it is a really marvelous session, sir. And there are a few more questions, but I think the paucity of time, I wouldn't like to take the trouble of asking too many questions to you, sir. And you have delivered so wonderfully. Almost every question, I mean, the answers couldn't be much better than that. And I really thank you, sir. And we feel highly privileged that you are with us. Now I thank everyone once again. I thank IMA also for giving this opportunity to us. I acknowledge the presence of our past president, Mr. Shyam Mohan Garu, Mr.
Yeah, I noticed Shyam Mohan Garu there, and I wanted to say hello.
Sir, I just want to say hello to you.
He launched
Mr.
one of my books.
Mr. Ramchandra, you are preventing me to talk to my good old, respectable, highly regarded friend of mine. What is this? It's not fair.
Shyam Mohan Garu was the president when I came.
Sir, you can't call me Shyam Mohan Garu. You call me Shyam. I'll be very happy to do that because I was so excited and happy to know the program. But there is a lighter side of the entire evening. I was just wondering, how did you coin this title, Pivots for Career Success? Because last time I remember I attended your the book, When the Penny Drops. That book, I have with your compliments and all that. But then this particular title, how did you choose? Is it because you have studied the excise policy of the Telangana state and a lot of revenue has been there because of the and then you want to address all those pivots of Telangana?
I don't know about the pivots of
English
Telangana,
word that you like.
but I was in our mind.
Is it a pun or a punch? I just want to know that.
something sits on.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking whether it's, sorry.
It's
Is
not
it
a pun.
or a
It's-
punch about the title?
It's not a pun, it's a fun.
Both, sir. Both are there, sir. Mix of both. Yes.
No, I was
In fact,
extremely,
Mr.
no,
Shyam,
sorry,
let
I'm
me through this.
extremely happy to know that you have written other 16 books. I'd like to have a list of them and who are the publishers there.
It is all available, Mr. Ramchandra. He locked it up in his safe. and kept
Ramchandra,
it.
you should have, yeah, I would have been happy to
I've also got
know all the
I've
titles,
also,
please.
I've also got a book partner, and he can supply you free of charge anywhere in India, any of the 17 books.
Wonderful.
You can order it directly. It will be-
Srinivasan Garu, I have got some small thing, if you don't mind. Don't
Please.
take me amiss. Partly, I apologize first, and because I just joined little late when you're talking about the performance of your company, where the production levels have gone up very high from 10% projected, but 30 to 35%. Your performance was there for various reasons. Am I right?
Yes, in Munger Printing Factory.
Yeah,
In Bihar.
yeah. But I was just thinking 10 to 35% is excellent, compliments to the company and its management. But at the same time, is it not part of the wrong planning on the management
See,
side?
this is exactly the point I was trying to get across. And with Mr. Ramchandra's permission, I'll just take a minute.
Yeah,
and
please, sir. Please, sir.
I see my colleague and friend G. Muralikrishna Raju, who was present in Munger during that period, and was a part of the entire success that took place. Now, the issue was not poor planning. The issue was old machinery and a set of people who were committed to certain practices, and their own feeling of neglect from the union office bearers, because they were the younger crowd, the more renegade crowd, and they were hardly involved in the union office bearers discussions and negotiations. So we had to make a change. And how would we do the change? We went through the formalized process, and we found that the office bearers were saying, "Ye bilkul kaam nahi karega. Don't even attempt it." And the general secretary who signed the agreement said, "Hum sign kar denge, lekin aapke factory ke andar nahi aayenge." And I think Murli Raju and MS Gadok and various others who were youngsters then helped me. And the personnel manager, the assistant personnel manager, BK Sinha. And we mass sold the idea to 400 people. So that's a long story. And I can carry on for the next half an hour on that subject.
I know, I can understand.
But the important point is that they delivered. And they delivered the goods. We could never, I use the word never, with all our scientific management, have plugged all the possible loopholes. I want to give you a simple loophole, which is that when you have staggered meal breaks, the canteen is open for 1.5 hours and people take turns to go have their food and come back. Then the next person goes and so on. Meanwhile, the machine runs continuously. So similarly, at the end of shift, people hand over running machines. It's actually like a relay race. Now, that is easier said than done. You can imagine what will happen. Somebody will complain saying XYZ went for meals, but he came back after 45 minutes. So I lost my lunch. Somebody else will complain saying the incoming shift did not come in and take the baton. So not my fault if the machine shut down. How is it possible to police and manage all this unless you have the collaborative cooperation of these people who are self-correcting? So they told us, you lay off, we know what to do. And they ensured that the half-an-hour circulation was working perfectly like clockwork. And similarly, they told the late shift, you're coming into the early shift, make sure you guys come on time, otherwise we'll collar you the next week when we are on the late shift. Now, those dynamics that have been unleashed are part of the resonance that we talked about, the RLC circuit and the resonating frequency. And the fact that people felt fully involved and they said so far it was a black box. Now suddenly it's all clear. So that aspect of motivation, saying that we are the architects of our own destiny and we are making things happen, is a high level of motivation, which you can't achieve by merely giving them a lecture. I hope I partly answered your question.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
This is marvelous, sir. Absolutely beautiful explanation. Sir, it's wonderful, sir. Thanks a lot once again. I will also express my thanks to my boss who's there in the screen today, Mr. Chittaranjan Kumar he's come from Mysore. He was my chairman when I was my MD in the company. Thank you, sir. Thanks once again to all. And I'll hand over this platform to my secretary, Dr. Ravi Kumar Jain. And
Can I
once
say
again,
just
sir,
one
it has
word,
been
please?
Good
yes, sir,
evening.
please.
Yeah. So since my elder brother has given me the inspiration to remember Shankaravarnam, I thought I should mention on behalf of both of us our thanks to Hyderabad Management Association and IMA and all the people who have organized this. And in true synchronicity with Shankaravarnam, Dorakuna Ituvanti Seva.
Marvelous.
Sir, very good evening to all present here. Such an interesting talk. And in fact, I can now, after listening to you for almost an hour, a little more over an hour, I have taken 5 hours to read the book. But I think, anybody who has listened to this has got the summary of it. A fantastically narrated book and the same orchestration in the session today. And when Ramchandra Garu said the book is divided into 3 sections and all, which is very evident there. But I see these 3 segments to be in 3, Vedic aspects of how you emerge as a man living a meaningful life, Jaya, Vijaya, and in that Sandarbha. So I think most of the English literature, which we often lean upon to get the motivation or to understand the theories and constructs and all, a lot of books on self-development talk about Jaya, winning or understanding self and winning self. A lot of literature on the motivation side or on the management side talk about Vijaya, about how do you understand others and win over others and all. Very few concentrate or talk about the context, the Sandarbha. I think this book brings out the aspect of Sandarbha in the context of Jaya and Vijaya impeccably well. Fantastically narrated, as I initially mentioned when I was talking to you, sir. I said earlier that I read this book in one go. I could not keep it down because the stories were so engaging. Lessons and then stories. And then again, the way you have spoken today, alternatively, the narration was also, in the book given alternatively. A couple of sticky points that I remember, I have noted down a lot of them, but then I will only mention 2 of it, where I said you mentioned about movies, The Longest Day and Zorba the Greek, a very interesting one actually. When you said you should have a Zorba in your life, someone who reminds you to relax, rejuvenate and refresh, release the nectar of life. I think superb, I would say suggestions for practitioners of our age or anybody who is active in work. This book arguably is a must-have on everybody's desk who is a professional management or practitioner. We enjoyed the session today. The distinctness of the session today is, apart from 2 stalwarts sharing their experiences by way of book and also a lecture like this, today's attendance also, sir, we have this opportunity of looking at or seeing the senior most HMA members who hardly are visible on the platform. So I take an opportunity here to urge all of them to, sir, please participate in HMA sessions. We are making efforts to bring some really senior people, good people, influence and impact both on these forums. And more importantly, Ramchandra Garu has been, pulling through a lot of good sessions. I take this opportunity to thank IMA for facilitating this session and having both stalwarts on board, Gopalakrishnan ji and Srinivasan ji. Ramchandra Garu for leading it impeccably well. Kavita Garu and other team members on HMA MC Management Committee for supporting and encouraging such events. Our senior leaders, past presidents like Shyam Mohan Garu, constantly pushing us to do something more, something, he keeps saying that Adil Mange more. So thanks to Shyam Mohan Garu and a lot of other seniors who are present here and all the attendees for making this evening a very
learning, and joyous evening. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you all. Have a
Thank you,
good
Mr.
evening.
Thank you once again to all of you,
Thank
sir,
you.
especially Gopalakrishnan and Srinivasan.
Thank you.
Karthik, on a count of 3, you can call off the meeting, please.
Thank you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Good day, everybody. Night. Closing the meeting.